flying in space, you know, I really miss the rain. The sound of rain and the rain hitting you when you're walking outside.
In 2 months, Scott Kelly will begin a year-long stay in space.
Everything you know, everything you love, everything humanity has ever known is 250 miles below you.
I said to my brother, I'll be in space and flying all the way around the sun 1 lap in a year. And he's like, yeah, so will I. The rest of us will be doing the same thing on Spaceship Earth.
It's just such a different thing when there's someone you know and someone you love right there at the pointy tip of that rocket.
I'd like to wish you good luck on your trip. I love you, Daddy.
A lot can happen in a year.
The unmanned rocket bound for the station with much-needed food and supplies exploding.
Yeah, it seems like I've been up here for a long time already.
Scott Kelly is going to do what no American has ever done before. Spend an unbroken year in space.
Oh, man.
I feel pretty fortunate that I get to risk it all one more time.
Порядок, самочувствие хорошее. 20 секунд. Двигатели первой и второй ступени работают нормально. Принято на борту порядок, все работает штаб, самочувствие хорошее.
I used to have a nightmare when I was a kid where I was on the rocket launching to the moon and something bad happened. And I don't remember what the bad thing was, but it was something for me as a kid that was quite terrifying.
Альтаир, я 16 медик. Поздравляю с успешным поведением. Передаю на управление СУПа Москвы.
О, пошла съемка. Все работает. Прекрасно. Ё-моё, гайс, целый год. Захнул Ир, гайс.
Не напоминай, Гер,
Вы пировали.
Миша, что там такое? Миша! Так, подожди. Приготовься к движению.
Миш, мы уже это сделали, я же вернулся, мой друг.
Кто виноват?
Красиво идем.
Да.
It's pretty remarkable to see this pinprick of light over the course of hours eventually become this space station that's the size of a football field.
Так, Скотт, ты готов, мой друг?
Да.
Так, и поехали, Скотт, открывай. Открывай.
the whole process of rendezvousing and docking with this thing that's moving 17,500 miles an hour is a pretty incredible concept. So the way you rendezvous with a spacecraft is you kind of get underneath it and you sneak up on it.
You know where they are right now?
No.
Ultimately, you have to fly within a couple of inches to get these two things to come together.
You can see the International Space Station smack dab in the middle of your view there. Moody's craft in view from the International Space Station on its final approach toward the hoist module.
At the end, there's no computers helping you anymore. The commander has to manually fly this thing.
45 minutes, 0.19 meters per second. Right?
Soyuz continuing to close in.
You're just looking out the window and using your skills as a pilot, and you've got to be accurate within about 2 inches.
Antenna is closed.
Antenna copy. Getting confirmation the core's antenna has been retracted. We'll be standing by for docking confirmation under 10 meters away. Coming up on 5 meters.
Inaudible. Contact.
Let me know if you're good to stay in for another hour. I've been doing risky things since I was a little kid. I think it's part of my genetics. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised I've made it this far, actually. Well, I've been training for this one-year mission for over 2 years.
Okay, I got my safety tether hooked up.
This being my second time flying a long-duration flight, the training's going well. But a year is a long time. A lot can happen in a year.
The biggest justification for the year in space experiment is to see how well the human body can withstand long-term space travel. A trip to and from Mars would take, say, 2.5 years. Getting to Mars requires multiple systems in NASA to be working at once. The system that's the most fragile and destructible of all, however, is the human body.
NASA is doing a kind of a comparative study between my brother Mark and I, since we have very similar DNA. That we're identical twins.
So this thing is not meant to walk around.
While twins are born with the same genetic material, it changes over time. And maybe it changes more rapidly in space than on Earth.
He'll get tired soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Would I fly to Mars? Well, I wouldn't fly the one-way trip to Mars. I don't know. Maybe I like Earth too much.
Yeah, but what you miss is the people and then the weather. It's kind of like, well, it's going outside. There's no sun on your face. You never feel this on my feet, this fire. You never feel this cool breeze. It's always exactly the same.
Hey, Gabby and I just wanted to say, bon voyage. How do you say that? Bon voyage. And, you know, we know you only have a couple more days here in the U.S., and then you're gone for, I don't know, like 5 years or something, right?
Hi, Dad. I'd like to wish you good luck on your trip. It's exciting, and you're going to be working. But remember to take in the view. I love you, Daddy.
Ever since the shuttle stood down, the U.S. has no way to get astronauts into space. Baikonur is the only way you can get out of town if what you're talking about is getting off the Earth. If you grew up in the Cold War, this was as deep into what was perceived as the Death Star as it was possible to go. It was the place that gave us the Soviet dominance of the high ground of space, and it scared the daylights out of us.
You may fire when ready.
You know, at one time, this was not a place that was acknowledged to exist. When I was a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy in the early 90s, I was flying an F-14 Tomcat, and their primary mission was to shoot down the Russian bomber. If we ever, went to war, it was quite possible that we would have been, fighting against one another. The Soyuz, the word in Russian stands for union, and I train in this one sometimes. So there's 3 crew members in here. The seat I'm sitting in is for the main flight engineer, Misha Kornienko, that I'm going to be on the space station for a whole year with.
Скотт очень хороший друг, товарищ и профессионал. Я считаю, что мне повезло, что мы летим вместе с ним, потому что у нас очень хорошие взаимоотношения. И мы очень много общались в течение подготовки.
I've known him for 15 years, since I first started coming out here. I call him my brother from another mother. He thinks that's funny. There is obviously tension between the U.S. and Russia, but it's not something that the crew members ever talk about. We're not politicians, and we leave it to the politicians from our respective countries to do that for us.
Я так думаю, что если запустить наших президентов хотя бы недельки на 2 в космос, то на Земле все дела бы уладились.
Preparing to go to space, especially for a year, is an exercise in serial leave-taking. You go from your home to Russia, to the hermetically sealed environment of your spacecraft, until finally you go to orbit. Step by step, you decouple from what's familiar on Earth. Step by step, you decouple from the world you know.
They left some stuff up in the gym, so you can bring it back. A couple shirts.
I'll be watching live.
I was asking him, I'm like, are the nerves getting to you? Are you getting excited? And he's like, if I'm nervous, it's not for the launch. It's for being away for a year, being away from you and your sister and Amiko and my brother for a year.
5 minutes. He's got his eyes on you, too. Missed it all. Here they come.
contact. Everything is fine.
And contact and capture confirmed. The one-year crew has arrived.
Начало года положено! Привет, мой друг. Привет. Давай, Мика, давай, привет.
All crew members now aboard the International Space Station.
Felt like I had never left. It's amazing how your body remembers actually being here.
Astronauts who have been to the space station before and come back to it experience a high at first. It's a homecoming. It's a place they feel sentimental about, even though it's just a gigantic machine.
You know, I often try to describe what this space station is like and the, the engineering miracle that it is. It's one of the most complicated things that we as humans have ever built.
Sorry.
It's 1 million pounds over the size of a football field.
The space station, it's made principally of 15 different modules. There's a U.S. segment at one end and a Russia segment at the other end. But it's all part of a single integrated whole.
Any words for the camera?
The personnel aboard the space station is an always changing thing. 3 new people come up, 3 existing people will go down. The first few days on the space station, an astronaut has to acclimate to the minute by minute, almost nanosecond by nanosecond schedule.
So far today, for me personally, I had some exercise, my first of 2 exercise sessions, and then I did some research.
There's a point where there's a certain acceleration where the fluid starts to move, and that's what we're really interested in.
While I'm here, we'll do over 400 different experiments. The pace of work at times can be hectic. We're operators of the equipment.
You got a hot trigger?
We're the housekeeper, the person that cleans the place.
What are you doing there, Terry?
I'm working on RAC.
Sometimes you're fixing things. Sometimes your days might be devoted to a lot of science.
Yeah, we like that plan moving forward, Scott.
This morning I was doing an experiment called Spheres that uses these small satellites and control algorithms that, try to understand how to control satellites in space. Return 101 and the red satellite said okay.
Great. We're going to get some great data out of this. We're going to keep moving forward.
Misha sleeps in the U.S. segment, and the cosmonauts do some activities down here. But for the most part, we just kind of wave in passing. Are you filming this?
Yeah.
Okay. See, we got some cream spinach, asparagus, and grilled chicken. It's going to go on a tortilla. Go ahead, Samantha. Yeah. We have Russian food. We have some European food. I have a Japanese crew member that'll be getting up here next month, and we'll have some Japanese food when he gets here. Can't let the little droplets get too far. Surface tension is very important. If we didn't have surface tension in space, we'd be in big trouble in a lot of areas.
stuff. It's a module full of stuff. Kind of our basement.
Every single bit of cargo in that spacecraft is measured down to the ounce. Every payload that comes up is essential.
Wet trash bags, disinfectant wipes, hygiene towels are what you use to take a shower with. I need a washcloth. You get one a week. Come in here and grab a washcloth.
There's not a single piece of equipment, food, or clothing aboard the International Space Station that didn't have to get there by a rocket. You don't know what's going to happen until that rocket takes off. There's a real and measurable chance it won't get there at all.
Good day from the International Space Station Flight Control Room at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. You are looking live at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, where a Soyuz booster rocket is poised for launch to deliver more than 3 tons of supplies for the expedition crew aboard the International Space Station. 3, 2, 1. Maximum thrust and liftoff.
Okay. Profile.
The flight of the Progress 59, the launch and ascent and climb to orbit all was nominal, but a series of telemetry problems were detected, and no docking attempt will be made.
Initially, we were hopeful that, the Russian Space Agency was going to be able to figure out the problem and then, get that resupply ship here. But we plan for these kind of failures. One issue, though, is fresh food.
Very cold.
We don't have things that are fresh very often. It's only when we get a resupply ship, and that stuff doesn't last very long, so we really look forward to that. We have to keep pressing forward with, the resources we have, and that's what we're doing here on board the space station.
The science that we're doing on Misha and I is to understand how we can live and work in space for longer periods of time so we could eventually go to Mars.
You've been in space a long time. You can try stuff like this.
We need to understand better the bone loss, the muscle loss that occurs in microgravity.
I will make it down to the end one of these days. Sometimes I think I feel completely normal, but then the next day I think, I don't.
И немножко гимнастики. И можем даже на одной руке. А вам слабо?
There's effects on our vestibular system, effects on our brain and our cognition, and how, what is our ability to perform very complicated, tasks that involve a lot of concentration? How does that change over longer periods of time in space?
When do I stop spinning? It doesn't really say that.
2 minutes, Scott.
These are ice bricks to keep our human samples, blood, and other things cold when we return them back to Earth.
We need to understand better the effects of radiation on our DNA.
We get a lot of radiation up here, but hopefully, we'll come to know a lot more about being in space for a really long time.
The thing that I worry about, and I think my brother probably thinks about, what's the radiation dose? What's the impact of that over the next 40 years? I mean, is that going to result in him getting some kind of cancer? It's the big unknown. But that's a choice he made, to further science, to further our space program.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition sequence start. liftoff of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket.
T+2 minutes. Altitude 32 kilometers. Speed 1 kilometer per second. Downrange distance 13 kilometers.
And we appear to have had a launch vehicle failure. Standing by for some information.
That was a big deal for a number of reasons. We lost all the food and the supplies. So now the crew members get into the position of really having to start to think about, you know, we're getting to the point where we might have to start rationing our food.
Cream spinach.
Scott's now been in space for 3 months.
A cloud of cream spinach.
And already he's been aboard for 2 disasters. Either Scott's mission is badly snake bit, or this was just 2 unrelated bits of bad luck. Either way, he's now flying on a undersupplied space station, and he has to be aboard for 9 more months.
Earlier this morning, there was a late notification of a possible conjunction with a piece of space debris identified as an old Russian satellite.
Ever since the first satellite launched in 1957, we've been leaving junk in space. There's now a massive debris belt circling the Earth, made up of millions of particles of various sizes. NASA tracks the bigger ones, the most dangerous ones, and is always alert to when one might be threatening the space station.
You think the getting there and the coming back are the most dangerous parts, and intuitively it feels like it is. Statistically for him, the most dangerous part is while he's in space.
When the space station is in any way facing danger, the astronauts must shelter in place. They have to climb inside their Soyuz, close all the hatches, and be prepared to bail out if the worst happens.
Flight controllers standing by here in Mission Control. Just 30 seconds to go until the time of closest approach.
1 second. Москва, ждем еще, да?
Иванович, ну все, момент прошел, выходить.
Принято. Выходим.
I don't know how many days we've been here. There's a sense of like a loss of freedom, and you definitely get a sense that, you know, you're here and you're not leaving for a long time. Last night, we had some incredible aurora outside. Like none I've ever seen before. So, you know, what's Earth? I kind of forgot what it's like to live down there, it seems like. Yeah, and I'm being sincere. There are certain, like, senses and things that I'm like, wow, that seems like so long ago.
Some higher wages.
And, I also look at it like I have a long ways ahead of me, too.
Chaos in the streets as riot police.
We're in the middle of a conversation. He goes, hey, look. He goes, I should be flying over Houston soon. And I was like, oh, cool. So I run outside. I have my little footies on, run outside. And I'm standing on the patio. And we're just having this conversation. And I'm looking. And then all of a sudden, I see it. And I'm just jumping up and down, I'm like, I see you. I like to take videos, really short little clips, because I recall certain things that he talked about missing. Guess what? It's a beautiful rainy day here in Houston.
Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
We are ready for the event.
Hey, thanks a lot. Really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. And Scott, I think I'm going to start with you. I mean, how important is tomorrow's Japanese HTV launch to build up the station's reserves again?
Yeah, it's pretty important. If for some reason HTV didn't get here, we get pretty low on certain consumables. So it is a very important launch for us coming up.
We had a liftoff of the HTV launch vehicle number 5 at 8:15:49 p.m. on August 19, 2015, Japan Standard Time.
The light is essentially centered on the circle, and the circle is essentially centered on the corridor center.
Our capture prep is confirmed, and we are ready for HTV capture.
And 3 meters and closing. Capture confirmed to HTV-5 delivering over 4.5 tons of supplies to the International Space Station.
We just got the new supplies, and it really helped with regards to our provisioning.
Cool. That smells good.
Congratulations to you. How are you feeling generally?
Yes, sir. I'm feeling great. Shouldn't be a problem getting to the end with enough energy and enthusiasm to complete the job.
Yeah, there's a window right here that looks right down on the Earth. It's actually open now. It's dark. Not sure exactly where we are, but you definitely feel like you're here, and everyone else and everything that you care about and love and is important to you is down there. Having this vantage point from space, we can see the effects of our presence on Earth. There are no political borders when you look down at the planet. So it does look like we are all part of one big team. It never gets old looking at the Earth. The Earth's a very beautiful place. I like taking very detailed pictures of the Earth. For me, it's somewhat of a challenge to figure out something I want to get a picture of and have the timing all work out and get a really good shot.
One thing I've never done is a spacewalk. I'm kind of curious to see how I'll feel when we open the hatch. If there's a kind of scared of heights aspect to it.
Start your buddy checks head to toe, call it out, and I'll let you know if you missed anything.
I think the longer you've been up here, the more prepared you are to go outside.
That's good.
your ability to move around and understand how you need to control your body.
Helmet lights operational, I'm going to check.
And how the small amounts of force you use to move and position yourself is something you really get a good sense for over time.
The action in the airlock.
Here. The gate is closed and the slider is locked.
Copy that, guys. Station Houston on 1, we'll go for EVA.
EV1 copies, EV2 copies.
Thanks, guys. And I'll see you on the other side.
EV1 copies and EV2 copies.
I wasn't sure whether we were going to open up the hatch in daylight or darkness. I wasn't quite sure what time of day it was. The hatch doesn't have a window in it.
And Houston, hatch is open.
You're looking through one pane of glass that the helmet visor is, and your face is kind of up in the visor, so your field of view is much greater. It is just a completely different level of color and brilliance than we see here looking out the windows.
Oh, man.
Untie that wire tie, just one twist, and then working the bag straps one at a time. Take out that portion of the cable that you need.
We're going to run a bunch of cables that will allow for commercial crew vehicles to someday dock with the space station. There's this alpha magnetic spectrometer that's having some cooling issues. We're going to put some insulating blankets on it.
Got that left foot giving you trouble?
Yeah, it's hard to tell if it's in or not.
Try pulling it back just slightly and then rotate your heel.
All right, I think I'm in.
Nice work.
See here.
Our robot arm has a sticky end effector that I'm going to lubricate.
So I'm not too confident in that one, so I'd suggest I put some more grease on the cradle and try it again.
That's how you earn your paycheck today.
Hey, so how was school today?
It was good.
What else is going on?
Nothing really, just doing Spanish homework.
So you still want the same stuff for Christmas?
What is the same stuff?
Same stuff you always want.
Money? Have you gotten your Christmas presents yet?
I did. I thank you for the t-shirt.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Got the bell and the card, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
My third Christmas in space.
Well, Merry Christmas.
Итак, Новый год стартует, друзья, на Международной космической станции. С Новым годом, друзья!
You know, for a long time I was counting up. So I could have told you how many days we've been here. It's definitely over 300, but I can't tell you exactly. I can tell you there are 26 days left, but that's mostly because my friend Misha here keeps reminding me how many days we have left. Some of us, guys in the black shirts here, are going home tomorrow, which... of course, is always bittersweet when you leave this incredible place.
The space station is really a magical place to live and work. It is the most incredible experience I think humans can really experience. At the same time, when you're in one place for a really long time, after a while, you want to leave.
and undocking has occured. Mikhail Kornienko, Scott Kelly, Sergei Volkov on their way home.
R7, command is being issued.
Having been here for a long time, the thing I'm the most concerned with is that this would be the last time I would have the ability to do this kind of thing.
Stand by for the start of the deorbit burn.
We confirm that at 6:32, the thrusters have fired.
The intense heat of re-entry that builds up around the vehicle forms of plasma, also entering their period of maximum G-force loads. The crew members typically experiencing about 4 to 5 times Earth's gravity.
It's like going over Niagara Falls in a barrel, but while you're on fire. And as soon as you realize you're not going to die, it's the most fun you've ever had.
All 3 crew members safely out of their Soyuz craft, back on Earth after 340 days in space.
Learning to live and work in space. I think that's our future. One of the great things about having the privilege to be able to fly in space is being part of something that you feel is larger than yourself.